Platform thinking means being able to use platform mechanisms even where we don't see them by default. So the next platform case may sound weird, to say the least. I'm talking about La Presse, one of the historical French newspapers founded in 1836. This French newspaper was the first to include paid advertising in its pages, allowing it to lower its price, extend its readership, and increase its profitability, and the formula was soon copied by all titles. Around 1840, Volney Palmer established the roots of the modern-day advertising agency in Philadelphia. In 1842, Palmer bought large amounts of space in various newspapers at a discounted rate, then resold the space at a higher rate to advertisers. The actual ad, the copy, layout and artwork was still prepared by the company wishing to advertise. In effect, Palmer was a space broker. The situation changed when the first full-service advertising agency of N.W. Ayer & Son was founded in 1869 in Philadelphia. Ayer & Son offered to plan, create and execute complete advertising campaigns for its customers. By the 20th century, the advertising agency had become the focal point of creative planning and advertising was firmly established as a profession. At first, agencies were brokers for advertisement space in newspapers. Trying to model what we have seen in these historical excursus, newspapers have a publisher who coordinates a series of activities that flow into a daily publication distributed through a complex logistical system. The end result is sold at a modest price, but we know how that price covers only a small part of the cost of production and distribution. This is made possible by the fact that readers are subsidized by another player in the marketplace: advertisers. The advertisers always interact with the publisher, but to buy a very different service from the information offered by the newspaper. They buy the reader's attention. We find ourselves in a typical two-sided mechanism. A central actor that builds the platform, the publisher, going to sell two complementary services to two different groups of customers: the readers and the brands that pay for the advertising space. However, let's immediately highlight the first major difference with transactional two-sided platforms. The platform does not enable a transaction between the two sides. In other words, the newspaper does not allow its reader to buy the product seen in the advertisement. It simply exposes him to its existence, even if he or she is not interested in it. We have two sides, but a transaction between them is not enabled. So in the graphical representation, we move the second side away from the transactional line, moving it orthogonally with respect to the transaction space with the first sides. This is why we talk about orthogonal or non-transactional two-sided platform, differentiating it from the more classic cases, such as the credit card that instead enables a transaction. To be more precise, the case of newspapers perfectly represents a specific strategy of generating an orthogonal platform, defined as client as a target. In other words, the platform uses the first side as a target of the second. The differences with respect to transactional structures, however, are not finished. In fact, the first side receives a service that depends solely and only on the central platform. Basically, we are dealing with a business that has all the more traditional characteristics, without the need for a second side to create value. The second side becomes an opportunity to make the business model economically sustainable by capturing the value created. This is a particularly widespread mechanism and not particularly innovative. All services that are based on advertising work exactly in this way, such as television or Google with its search engine. We can therefore define orthogonal platforms as products or services that are based on the sale of different services to two groups of customers who do not come into direct contact with each other, relying on unidirectional cross-site network externality. In this case, in fact, the value for advertisers increases as the number of readers of the newspaper increases. But the reverse is not true. In particular, the client as a target strategy uses the first side as an asset to be exploited by offering its attention to the second side, which is often involved to make the platform's business model sustainable or more sustainable.